Take one. Can you do a clap too? Cool. This is I don't know what the name of this podcast is yet.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong. You got time.
You got any ideas for the podcast name?
For the name or for...
Yeah. You got any ideas for the podcast name? We haven't even talked about anything yet, but so we have no idea.
So I have no context. So let's see. My ideas are I got nothing. I've found that one of the worst things I am or I have the hardest time at doing is coming up with names for things.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Is that the same for song names?
Maybe that's not too bad, but like band names or like names for my kids or, whatever.
Okay.
naming things.
How long did it take you to come up with a name for your kid? Or for both your kids?
Let's see. I guess Isaiah wasn't too bad. But like we didn't come up with Asher's name until like a few hours before he was born, maybe.
Really? So Asher came, at the last second.
Yeah. So that was, which maybe that was like the second kid type deal.
Okay.
Maybe not getting as much forethought or whatever, but yeah.
But Isaiah came probably a lot sooner.
Yeah, he definitely came a lot sooner. Although we had a different name picked out for him, and then a friend of ours had a baby before we did, like a couple months before we did, and they used the name that we were going to use, which it wasn't a big deal to me, but for Marla, it was she just wanted to have something different. She didn't want the same name that close together. So I was like, that's cool.
I got you.
So, yeah, maybe a couple months out. We did choose it pretty quickly, though.
Okay.
But.
So tell everyone where you're from, what you're doing, what's your story. Tell you where you live, what instruments you play, and your experience musically. What are your preferred genres? Give us everything.
Wow, that's a lot. So let's see. I grew
Your
up
name
in Wisconsin.
is?
My name is. Yeah, that's right. I should start with my name. My name is Jon Coats. I'm 34 years old. I say I grew up in Wisconsin. That's probably fair. I spent like from 5th grade through graduating college in Wisconsin. So that was most of growing up. So I was actually born in Haiti. My parents were missionaries there, spent a little time in Canada, and then ended up in Wisconsin. And then after I graduated from college, moved down to Virginia Beach, got a master's degree down here, taught for a few years, and been on a crazy journey since then. Played some golf professionally, did some other stuff, and now I'm helping out with a church plant, a church in Norfolk, Virginia. So good times. I'm married. My wife, Marla, we've been married for 9.5 years now, something like that. So next year will be 10-year anniversary. It's pretty crazy. Time flies by.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We have 2 boys, a 4-year-old Isaiah and a 2.5-year-old Asher, and they are both awesome, a lot of fun, exciting, tons of energy. I read an article one time that said that toddlers have just as much energy, if not more, than endurance athletes, and I believe it. So they have tons of energy. Yeah. I think Asher's gonna play drums when he grows up. It seems like he's got that drum vibe in him. And then Isaiah, I'm not sure what he's gonna do.
Well, what got you started?
Yeah, I guess I've just always loved music. I don't know what it was. I mean, my parents both really loved music. My mom sang. My dad played the trumpet, was pretty good on the trumpet, and we just loved music, loved listening to all sorts of different kinds of music growing up. When I was 1st and 2nd grade, my parents wanted me to take piano the first 2 years of elementary school, And then they kind of gave us, so I have two older sisters, so myself and my siblings, they gave us the option. We could either keep going with piano, or they said, if you don't keep going with piano, which I kind of wish I did, but I didn't keep going with it. They said, choose another instrument. So I ended up choosing the violin. So I actually played the violin from 3rd grade through 9th grade.
Wow.
And then at 9th grade, let's just say that sports kind of started to get in the way. So I stopped playing violin.
Yeah. What sports?
Mainly basketball and golf.
Okay.
So those are kind of the two big sports for me, high school and college. And then I guess after I graduated college, I kind of started picking up the guitar. I've always loved to sing, and I mean, basically everybody in the world plays guitar, so I was like, why not start playing the guitar? So I started just kind of picking it up, and just said, hey, I like this song. I'm going to try and figure out how to play it, sing it, whatever. And so that's kind of how I started playing guitar.
Did you have anyone teaching you, or were you just all self-taught?
It was a lot of self-taught. And then when I get together with like friends and have jam sessions or play or whatever, usually a lot of my friends were a lot better. So they'd kind of point out things and say, hey, do this or try this or, you know, whatever. So like for you, for instance, you know, when our paths crossed, input from people like you was super helpful in my journey so far with music and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I'm glad I could be of service to you, bro.
Very helpful. Like, don't do that, but do this.
Yeah.
So really cool. And then I can play chords on the piano, chords on the keyboard, but I can do just enough to make it seem like I know what I'm doing on the piano. So if somebody didn't know piano that well, I might seem like I can play piano, but anyway, so I like to mess around the piano some. Started picking up bass recently, trying to learn how to play bass. A few years back, I tried starting to learn how to play drums, but I kind of hit a plateau, and then we had a kid, and then I sold the drums. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
That'll happen, right?
Yeah. Someday I'd like to come back to the drums, but anyway, yeah. So
Wow.
I don't know. That was probably more than you needed, but that's.
Do you feel like
that's
you're?
where it's at.
Do you feel like you're called to music now?
Called. That's a good question.
What does it mean to be called to music?
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, it means something different than maybe someone else. You know, if you're a layperson, people feel like they have a destiny kind of built in them from maybe the universe or just how they're built. But then in the Christian world, there's like, if you're called to do something, we're referring to what God has called you to do. Like, you know, and that seems, and that for me, it seems very amorphous and, you know, strange to really pin down.
Yeah, so I guess when I think of calling from the Christian perspective, I think of so as Christians, I think our commitment to a local church is really important. So we commit to a church. I use the term family because I think it's the language of the New Testament. So like the church is a family. And so we commit ourselves to the church family and also to like the leadership that is chosen by people within the church community to kind of lead and guide and shepherd the church family. And so when I think of calling, I think a lot about like the significance of leaders in the church and other members in the church family kind of recognizing and affirming things in people. So I think I've had over the last few years a lot of affirmation as far as like so if we want to talk about like Sunday corporate gatherings and music and liturgy and leading services as far as like putting together music and scripture and things like that, like I feel like I've had a lot of people affirm that in me and in my life. And so I think that's been helpful as far as like it's something that I love to do, but also like something that people have said, yeah, like I think this is something that the Spirit is doing in you, and so I don't know. I guess that's been helpful. So, I think even in my current circumstance of heavily involved with week to week, Sunday to Sunday, our corporate gatherings as far as thinking through songs and helping lead and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've made yourself pretty busy with music. And what do you think was the tipping point for you to be like, you know what, this is the music thing. I should really try and go for the music thing. Let's put away. Let's try and stop doing. I think you said you did golf for a long time. Was there a moment when you were out on the greens and you were and maybe you missed a putt and you were like, you know what, this this was a bad idea?
Yeah, no, it wasn't there, because whenever I was out there, I always thought I was still going to make it. No, I think for me, so after kind of, I just, like, as a family, we decided to move on from golf, and kind of had a few months to kind of process and work through some things. Yeah, I guess just some different conversations, but then also, with some friends, there were a few years, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in a row where the church that we were a part of, we would put on like a Christmas concert every year. And that was something just a lot of fun to be a part of. But anyway, so after the golf thing was kind of coming to an end, I got together with a couple friends and we said, hey, we do this Christmas concert every year. Why don't we write some original music? And so that kind of like was a turning point a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so we started writing some original music together, collaborating. And then we performed a couple of those songs at our Christmas concert that we did every year, and it was pretty well received. So then we were like, hey, let's maybe try and make an album. And so kind of just, I guess that process there. And then, so from that side of it, just as far as like writing and creating music. And then the other side of it, just, I guess, our connections with the churches that we've been a part of and are a part of now, being, asked to help out and being heavily involved with like overseeing music and things like that with the churches. So,
and so you're working on that album right now, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we are working like mad, working crazy, trying to make it happen, get it done. So we're hoping to have it finished a couple weeks before Christmas. So, yeah,
That's
we'll
exciting.
see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's been fun.
So this is it's a brand new process for you, probably, right?
It is. Yes.
What's
so lots of discovery.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing that you think you've been learning about this whole thing? Putting an album together, getting these people, getting these new songs, finishing the songs, all that.
Yeah. I think in categories. So like when I think of the songwriting process, so that's kind of like that's been one category. And I've heard a lot of songwriters talk about it in these terms, and I feel like it's been a similar experience for me in that when attempting to write songs and write music, you kind of like, you just need to commit to the work of almost daily, like when you're in the writing phase, as it were, almost daily, like, okay, I'm going to look at it, like kind of each day. All right, put it aside and then come back to it the next day. And you kind of feel like you're not really getting anywhere day after day after day after day. You're just kind of working on it, looking at it. And then it's like at some point, and you never know when the moment's going to strike, all of a sudden all the ideas start coming to you, like after you've put in all those deposits day after day after day. So it could be 12:30 at night and you can't sleep, and all of a sudden it starts to come to you. And like when that moment happens, like you better take advantage of it. You better capture that moment, as it were. And so it's like I've had those moments where at 11:30 at night I was like, I better get out of bed and go downstairs and like work like crazy.
Yeah, I think the voice memos feature on the iPhone has been
best.
Kind of like the musician's saving grace. It's been one of the best tools, I think, just to have a recorder on you at all times. That's something that musicians should have been doing already, is having a recorder on them at all times. And professionals, I think, did do that. But now you've got all the amateur musicians realize how powerful it is because they just have it on their phone easily now.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's been Yeah, you look at the voice memos and it was like all these different like takes or options of melodies and things like that. So yeah, it's super awesome.
I actually, when I first got the iPhone back in, I think it came out in 2006 or 7. I can't remember, but that was back when the iPhone didn't have a voice memo function on it.
Okay.
I don't think it even had an app store when it first came out, from what I remember. And because of that, that's why I jailbroke my phone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you got to jailbreak your phone to where you can actually install the software on it to actually go to the jailbreak marketplace. There was one that was called Cydia, and I actually downloaded like, a janky version of a voice recorder.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the technology was already there in the phone. It wasn't good enough for Apple to be like, yeah, we have a voice memo app, because it was really super low quality.
Okay.
It just used that regular cheap microphone that you used for phone calls,
Yeah.
and it worked,
That's cool.
and I still have those voice memos from way back when.
Yeah.
Like to go back and visit them still.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the cool and fun thing about it. It's just
having
you have
the
that
ones-
history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing how far you've evolved and seeing,
Right.
just going back and listening to the trash that you made once before, and
Right.
laughing at yourself or cringing. Lots of cringing.
Exactly.
So I was wondering if you wanted to play one of your new songs from your album.
Yeah, I can try.
Pull something out.
Yeah, sure.
All right, you got your guitar.
Okay.
You ready to rock? What's the song?
Yeah, so this song is called Love. So it's gonna be on the album. It's gonna be like there's gonna be 9 songs, and it's gonna be the center song. So it's gonna be the 5th song. So 4 on one side, 4 on the other side, and so just kind of capturing the idea of the love that Jesus displayed in his first advent when he came to earth, and so that's kind of the idea behind it.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
John. Take it away.
Yeah. Streets of gold traded for our dusty roads. Do you know a love that wore a kingly crown, set aside for a little town? Do you know a love with majestic robes, doffed for tiny swaddling clothes? Only one I know came from heaven to earth below. This love I know, scarlet sin made white as snow. Fill the earth with praise again, peace to all, goodwill to men. Love that loves enemies, king made servants suffering. Do you know a love that with a thorny crown bled for you there on his brow? Do you know this love, so perfect and strange, could not be held down by the grave? through time, sought and healed this heart of mine. Do you know this perfect love by his great name? Trust and never be the same. Oh, Jesus is love's most precious name, calling for you here today. Do you know a love? Do you know a love? Do you know a love like this? Do you know a love? Do you know a love? Do you know a love like this? Only one I know came from heaven to earth below. This love I know, scarlet sin made white as snow, raised from death to life again, peace for all, good news for men.
All right. Jon Coats, thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So when did you finish that song?
Let's see. So we had a version of it finished, maybe November of last year. And then we made a few slight tweaks to it this year, through the first couple months of the year, just kind of moving things around a little bit. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the message behind that song.
Yeah.
You grew up in a Christian family,
Yeah.
but when was you grew up with that information in the song, kind of basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there a moment in your life where you heard that message and about Christ, and you were like, "Oh, okay, this is actually true, and I need to start following it"?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think a lot of different people who follow Jesus, who are Christians, if you ask them that question, you get a lot of different answers. I think for me, it was interesting. There's a sense in which I don't ever remember not believing that Jesus was what is true, what is real, that Jesus was good news in his life, death, and resurrection. So there is that side of it. But there's another side of it in which I feel like there were different, I guess, moments in my life, junior high, and then moments in college where I felt like maybe it was more so college, I guess, where it really, I guess, started to come alive. Not that before that I didn't trust Jesus and want to follow Jesus, but I guess, I don't know. I guess just college is one of those things where
Is it because
you do a lot of soul searching?
Yeah, well, I think it's a big part of it is you're going out into the world on your own, and so you're experiencing life a little bit more firsthand.
Right. So I think that was a big piece of it, and so I think at that point, kind of those college years, really starting to say this isn't just something that demands a part of your life, you tack on Jesus. It's this is something that is, so the terminology of compartmentalization or holistic, Jesus is not one of the compartments, he is in all of the compartments of life and impacts everything. And so I think college years was where that kind of really started to come alive. And actually I don't know, just even just the I guess if I could use the term the emotion of joy, finding a lot of joy in just that both a relationship with Jesus, and then as well, just like the friendships around me, the college friendships, of other people wanting to follow Jesus and love Jesus. Just kind of the joy that came through those relationships. And so, yeah.
Wow. So the balance, one of the things I think about when it comes to putting my faith in my music is the balance I have between what I should be writing about and what I want to write about, the idea of like secular music, like music that doesn't necessarily sing about God. For example, the ABCs. Okay, that's a secular song, the ABCs. All right. Also, Old MacDonald. All right. But it's I know that you've done your actual own rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Right.
And is that going on your album, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or?
It's not.
Okay.
But it'll probably end up on an album
Yeah.
at some point. It'll end up on an album at some point. Yeah.
Right. So that's just a really nice song. It's not necessarily alluding to anything religious or spiritual. Not necessarily. It's just a nice song to think about, and I like your rendition of it with and you perform with Anna Price. That's how you usually perform it with her, right?
Yeah, I guess that's like the stripped down version. I mean, we can add a little bit more to it. We've done it in a fuller way with a band and stuff like that. But anyway,
for those who don't know, Anna Price is a wonderful vocalist and mandolinist who is going to be on Jon Coats' album as well. So
absolutely,
yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. Looking forward to hearing more of her voice and your voice too. So it's where do you? Is there a line that you feel like you need to draw when it comes to like, I'm saying like a lot. Second podcast. When it comes to maybe you're saying to yourself, okay, that's enough songs about rainbows. Let's actually sing about God sometimes. Or is it more natural for you and you just kind of do whatever? Or is it an easier question to answer than I'm making it?
Yeah, no. I think it's a helpful question. I think for me it comes back to like what I was talking about earlier, as far as like a compartmentalized view of life in the world compared to like a holistic view of life in the world. In that, and I was, are you familiar with the guy Francis Schaeffer?
Yeah.
So he wrote a little book on, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was something like art and Christianity, or just like a little booklet. But he made a significant point where he's like, it's not Christian because it so art, whether it's a painting or a drawing or music or whatever it might be, or a story, it's not Christian because, like the painting is of a cross, or because the song specifically mentions Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, or something like that. But it's Christian because it's been done by a Christian. It was done by a Christian artist. It was done by a Christian painter. And so I think that's something that resonated with me, in that like the world is a beautiful, massive place created by God. And there's a lot to unpack in a crazy, beautiful, amazing, complicated world that... I guess in different ways can communicate the truths of who God is, his beauty. So it's on a spectrum of like whether it's specifically mentioning, let's say, Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, or it's not, but still, I guess, just draws on the beauty of God's creation and who he is. So I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I say all that to say...
No, it sounds great. It's good stuff.
I say all that to say, like, I think sometimes... So let's talk about movies for a second.
Good. Okay. Good transition. Yeah.
I feel like the category of Christian movies is terrible. And I don't... Okay, so terrible. That might be an unfair word. Okay,
Hold on. Some guys who make Christian movies are watching this. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
The
right.
Fox Films guy is watching this, listening right now.
You're right. Okay, terrible's the wrong term. So sometimes I feel like Christian artists, and I think it's been seen in, and this is an easy one to pick on, in like movies that have been created by Christians, is sometimes Christians try too hard to make it overtly Christian, and then it becomes bad art.
Right. Right.
And so I think, so if an artist sets out with a goal of saying, hey, I'm going to write a song for a church to sing on Sunday, that's great. But there's nothing less noble or valuable about an artist saying, I just want to sing about a beautiful relationship between a husband and his wife, what that love looks like, or a father for a child. And maybe they mention an explicit Christian theme in there. Maybe they don't, but I think there's just as much value in that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Have you written anything in that style where you're like, it's not anything particularly, Christian. It's just a nice subject to sing about.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned that, because like everything that I've written has been specifically in the category of like overtly Christian. It's interesting. My dad and I were actually talking about that recently a few weeks back. He was like, you should start writing stuff that's like outside your comfort zone. And I was like, you're right, I should. I guess just because of my position as like somebody who is leading corporate worship on a regular basis, I'm constantly thinking about the church as it gathers to worship. And so, so I think that's where my mind goes a lot of times, where maybe if it wasn't a part of, I guess I could say, my job. So that's a good exercise. I need to start to create space where I'm saying like, hey, I just want to sit down and write music about, whatever.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, I don't want to like diss your dad or anything, but when it comes to like writing out your comfort zone, I would say do that if you feel like you're pressured. If you feel like in yourself you have to.
Yeah.
Like if you feel like you need to write a song about, I don't know, math, for example. If you felt like that need and that was uncomfortable for you, but you really wanted to do it, then yeah, you should do it. But don't do something just because it's uncomfortable necessarily.
Right. No, that's good. That's good. That's helpful.
You're an artist, right? So you should be conveying exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And if that's all overtly Christian stuff, then there's no problem with that, at least in my thinking.
Right. No, exactly. I totally agree with that. I think, so maybe it wasn't necessary. He didn't use the terms "get out of your comfort zone." I think he just said like, "Hey, have you ever thought about trying this? Or have you ever thought about just writing music, whatever?" And so, I think there's been a few times where, I mean, every artist wants to write a good love song, right? So there's been a few times where I'm like, it'd be cool to write, a good love song inspired by my wife, whatever, that type of thing. Write a song for her. So at some point, maybe.
But then you'd want to like throw in some catechism, like creeds and stuff, or whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How we're gonna raise our kids and catechize them in the truth.
Yeah, talk about regulative worship and credo baptism, pedo baptism, all that stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, but so that's where I'm at. So I love. Like, and you asked this earlier, I guess I never really answered, but like, I feel like I find myself enjoying a wide variety of music and songwriters, because I guess I appreciate, just the depth and the beauty and the complexity that we see in our world. And so I think that should come out in a array of ways and styles, and maybe we don't always get that on like Christian radio, but we do get that, I think, through the many good artists, Christian artists we see out there today, that some writing overtly Christian music and others not. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in both those categories.
Yeah. Who do you think you would categorize as someone who's a Christian artist specifically, who is trying to push things in a very artistic or maybe a really outside the box way, but still honoring God with his, music?
Yeah. So
Can I put it?
first
I want to put in my submission for Kanye West. He's.
okay.
I know a lot of people are still unsure about his, his walk and all that stuff, and but as in my mind, I think he's a Christian, and I think he's putting out really like my favorite Christian music content is Kanye stuff right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you get Kenny G to do a solo on your album, I mean, come on.
That's such a like a hipster thing to do now. Just like bring back this old school dude who used to be cheesy, but guess what? He's cool now because I'm Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's crazy. So I first encountered Josh Garrel's music. I don't know, back in like 2008, 2009, maybe.
I should have guessed Josh Garrel's.
You should have guessed Josh Garrel's. And yeah, so he writes some stuff that's like very overtly Christian. He writes some stuff that's not. And I love his music. Stylistically, his like vocal quality is just like unlike anything I've heard. He would be an artist that I would look at and say like, I think he's doing what I'm talking about. And he kind of does. It seems like he kind of does the spectrum of it. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Really
I'm going to put you on the spot now. All right.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay, here we go. So who's an artist that you like to listen to and appreciate? Who's the furthest away from Christian music? Like, it's just like, if you showed this to your pastor, like, if you showed this to your old pastor, and he would be like, okay, and he would like question your salvation. Is there anything you listen to that's be like, what in the world are you doing? Is there something that pops into your head? It's like, nah, I'm not going to share that with anyone.
Oh man. That's a good question.
Now, I'm putting you on the spot, so if you're uncomfortable with answering, it's okay.
I'm not uncomfortable. I guess I just have to deal with the repercussions of it. No, I mean, I like to listen to a wide array of music. I was talking about this with a good friend the other day. I feel like Taylor Swift's 1989 album is like... If you look at the last 20 years, so since 2000, like, name an iconic album. I mean, I'm sure there's some stuff you could come up with. But I feel like her album 1989 is iconic. I don't know. That word probably gets used too much. I just went back and listened to that the other day, and I was like, There's so many impressive songs.
Was that the second to last album?
I think it was, so now that she came out with Folklore or whatever.
Yeah, Folklore, yeah.
COVID. So then I think there's been 2 other ones. So I think it was 4 albums ago.
Oh, okay.
So I think she's released 3 albums since then.
What was the big hits on that one?
They were all hits. I mean, okay, so you think about this, Ryan Adams, right?
Oh, that's right. Did he redo that?
He did a cover album of every song.
That's right. Yeah, I remember. Okay, now I know which album you're talking about.
I remember people being like, he did this as a joke, and then he got interviewed. He's like, no, like I thought this was so good, I wanted to cover every single one of these songs.
You know what? That was one album that was a big example for me, specifically not the 1989 album, but the cover album. Because I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I'm sorry. If you're listening, Taylor, which you're not, I know you're not. You're not here. I'm not a huge Taylor fan. I did enjoy Folklore a good bit. I don't think I actually listened to Folklore all the way through, but what I'm trying to say is, like, when Ryan Adams came out with that cover album, for me, that was saying, like, I enjoyed the cover album more than Taylor's album, personally. Right. And I think there is probably a lot of people that did too. And I think when I think about the way that Taylor does her music, and the way that Ryan does his music, it kind of reinforces the principle of it's not just what you say, it's also how you say it.
Yeah.
So that means something to people. So that's also referring, like, if you think of how you tell a joke, to entertain someone. If you're if like a little if like a little kid says it versus your grandpa saying it versus a comedian on stage on stage. Like if a kid is saying it, your grandpa saying it, and a comedian is saying it, you're going to feel differently about those three different people saying it because they have a different perspective. They're going to say it in a different way, but it's going to be the same exact joke. So
Right.
so I think that it's almost like I'm thinking of like you build a structure and that's great, but you can't just build a structure and just shove it out there. You have to
Right.
make sure you say it the right way. And I think there was something I wanted to say about that. I don't know. I think it was kind of like a big point of proof for me to realize like it's okay for me to not like Taylor Swift, even though she did the exact same song that Ryan Adams did.
Right.
Ryan Adams is conveying it, I think, in the way that worked better for me, and his personality was right for the song, for all these songs. And so when I look at Taylor's music and I listen to it from 1989, I'm just like, I don't relate to any of it. I didn't think it was that great.
Yeah.
It's just super poppy songs, and they don't come off the right way. But as soon as Ryan Adams does it, there's like this emotion that's happening. There's this. It's a different emotion, I think I want to say.
Yeah.
And Taylor seems a lot more carefree, a lot more young, and maybe
Right.
more naive when she's saying the words. But when Ryan does it, it's like it's coming from someone with experience, and it sounds like he's really meaning what he's saying. And if you say something just with a little bit more angst and a little bit more sadness to it, it means something totally different,
Yeah.
So
That's
I-
fair.
That's
I
my
think-
that's my argument for why Ryan Adams is better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so I think the other aspect of it, I think for me that was so startling was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, she was kind of going down like the country music lane when she first started out.
Yes, she was.
And I think that was the album where she kind of switched.
I thought yeah, she might have. I thought it was the one after. I thought that might have been one that was later. We'll Google
But
it
anyway,
later.
yeah. So if I could be wrong, but
She
if
was I'm sure she was still coming out of it.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
yeah. But either way, it was just like it was kind of her saying like, I know I've been successful doing this one way. Now I'm gonna kind of change it up.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
But-
that was a big moment for her, and now she's doing really great. She's top of the pops.
Yeah, and then yeah. So her newest album, that song that she did with Bon Iver or whatever.
That's
Exile,
right.
like
You have said it correct, Bon Iver.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought that song was really cool.
That was good. It was interesting to hear Justin Vernon. That's his actual name.
Right.
That's Bon Iver. It's interesting to hear him actually sing words that were more relatable than he's ever written.
Right.
If you've listened to any of his music, they're like super poetic and that have a lot of imagery and feelings and aren't necessarily easily understood at all when you first hear them. And
Yeah.
so when he's on Taylor Swift's song, I was like, is he going to do it super poetic again? And then he just sings like normal stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear him actually sing very easily relatable lyrics that a lot quicker.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is there any
So-
what?
So I don't know. I was just gonna say. So she's the first one that came to my mind. There's probably, if I went through my Apple Music like artists, there's probably somebody else that would fit the category even more. But anyway, I guess she's the first person that came into my mind.
That's funny.
When you think about when you think about where I'm coming from in what I believe about the world and reality, and where she's coming from, I think that'd be a pretty stark contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can. Yeah, she's very much into totally different agenda compared to Christians. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're the one asking me all the questions, but who's the artist for you, or are you gonna save that for a later episode?
Well, no, I can try and think of one right now. I know that if I showed my old pastor some Kanye, he'd probably be like, "What?" So, but there's some music that's just like I usually like to listen to really chill music. I don't know why necessarily. It makes me feel good, but the chill music doesn't really catch you off guard and make you feel like, oh, that's that's bad, or anything like that. But
Right.
I have recently been, just for at least for educational purposes, because I like to, like, even if it's like really crass music, really rude music, I'll listen to it once just to be like, oh, this is where music is going. This is a really interesting experimental idea, but it'll be really crass, and I won't really listen to it more than once or twice just to get an idea of it.
Yeah.
One artist who I really appreciate who does that, who is really crass, is Jpeg Mafia.
Okay.
He's a hip hop artist who's been really experimental with hip hop and sounds, and it's like, man, he's absolutely crazy. It's the beats that he comes up with. So, but yeah, I wouldn't share that with anyone.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he's really good.
Would you play that for your mom?
No, never. I wouldn't play it for a lot of people. I probably wouldn't play it for most anyone, probably because it goes against my idea of, like, I don't want to necessarily turn people on to something that's crass or something that that dishonors God. So I always feel iffy about sharing music like that with people, because I want to show people, like, oh, this is cool, how interesting music can be and where music is going and how experimental this is. But at the same time, I don't want them to get hooked on something that God hates. So
Yeah. No, that's fair.
so it's a weird tightrope to walk, with my musical
Yeah.
tastes.
Because there's like that balance of there, and I want to say this carefully. There's like, I think certain people, like, you have a threshold of which you can handle and you know how to, like, navigate and work through it. And then there are other people that are just immature, maybe, and don't quite know how to navigate through all of it. And so it can kind of, it's a different dynamic for sure.
Yeah. It's my career, so
Yeah.
I have to listen to it. It's my job. It's like someone who works at the Clear Play.
Oh, right. They got to watch all the bad stuff.
They have to watch the movies with all the language and nudity just so they can bleep it out for everyone else. But
right, or the people that do the reviews for, like, Focus on the Family's Plugged In or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all those review sites. Yeah.
That's funny. Is there any chance that you can do another song?
Yeah, sure.
I would love to hear one more. What do you want to do?
I'll do one more. So this one's called Joy, Let There Be Light. So on our album, we wanted to kind of focus everything around kind of the traditional Advent to Christmas themes that we see in the church. Themes of hope, peace, love, and joy. And so we wanted to write original songs kind of around those themes. And so I tried to write this song a number of times and just couldn't make it happen. So I actually have, like, I wrote a song about joy and then scrapped it, like a whole song, spent months on it. And I was like, I just don't like it. So I scrapped that. And then I tried to write another one and scrapped that. Well, I still have it, but I was just like, it's not the one. And then this was like one of those, I had been thinking about it for like 2 days, and then it kind of just all came out in like a half hour window. So anyway, here it is.
I'm excited, man. Take it away.
Yeah.
This is Joy by Jon Coats.
Joy, Let There Be Light.
Joy, Let There Be Light by Jon Coats.
All of heaven waited in silence as the King spoke into the night. The very first word of creation, singing, let there be light. All creation waited in silence as the King knelt down in the dirt, molding some clay in his hands. He made us his image on earth. All creation come worship the King and look on this mystery. darkness. He's singing, let there be light. All of Bethlehem stood in silence as the angels filled up the sky. They're singing of joy for all people, for God is with us tonight. All creation come worship the King, and look on this mystery, that God has come near, He has made Himself known. Oh, sing and dance for joy. Oh, sing and dance for joy. Let there be light, a baby is born. Oh, hallelujah, God is with us. Let there be light, Jesus is born. Oh, hallelujah, God is with us. Let there be light, the King is born. Oh, hallelujah, God is with us. Hallelujah, God is with us. Hallelujah, God is with us. All creation come worship the King, and look on this mystery, that God has come near, He has made Himself known. Oh, sing and dance for joy. Oh, sing and dance for joy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. So, sing and dance for joy. All right. Well, hold on. I had to restart my camera again. It's back. Okay. I think that's good for us, man. I think we might
Sweet.
have an hour in, so I think that's a good note to end on. Can you go ahead and plug your stuff?
Can I? Oh, plug it. Plug it.
How
Yes,
are they? How is everyone going to find out when your album is coming out, bro? Who do they
yes.
follow?
Okay. So
Where do they go?
you can follow Jonathan D. Coats on Instagram, or so I know like we're behind the game on all the like social media and marketing and everything. So we're actually calling ourselves 7 Cities for the album. So we just secured the Instagram handle. We're going to be starting to post some videos. I'm going to post like a trailer for the album in like 2 weeks or so, a couple weeks. I'm going to post a trailer. It'll be like 2 or 3 minutes, just kind of explaining the idea of the album, how it came together. And then slowly but surely, we'll just kind of post updates. And the album, we're targeting the first week of December. But like we talked about earlier, you know, new process, all that stuff that goes with it, learning process. So worst case scenario, we're hoping the second week of December. Worst case scenario. So first week or second week of December. The album will be called Advent to Christmas. The band name 7 Cities, and kind of a take on the region that we live in. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Suffolk, Newport News, Hampton. Is that 7?
Okay, nice. I like that.
And the album's comprised, like the artists that are involved on the album, musicians, are represent a number of different churches in the area, as well as maybe even some people outside of the area, but primarily from the Seven Cities area. And so we're calling ourselves Seven Cities.
Nice.
Yes. So be looking out for social media presence to start to take shape.
Excited, man. Awesome. So for right now, they can only follow Jonathan D. Coats unless you actually come out with the handle. You secured the handle already?
We secured the handle, so you can follow
Seven Cities.
Yeah, Seven Cities.
Is it spelled S-E-V-E-N?
Yeah, S-E-V-E-N. Yeah, that's how you spell seven, isn't it? Seven Cities.
S-E-P-H-E-N?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so we're gonna start posting content here pretty soon.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
So follow both. So I'll follow Jonathan D.
Yeah.
Coats, follow Seven Cities.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Well, we're all excited. At least I am. I hope everyone else is. Thanks for everyone for joining the podcast. And thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for asking me to come on. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. And I'm thankful for you.
I'm thankful for you too, man. All right. Signing out now. I think that's the official end.